story. Once upon a time, Hadenike missed a flight. She thought it was for 7 p.m. while it was for 7 a.m. And that is how the most difficult 12 hours of her life started. Yeah, that's what happened. I thought my flight was for 7 p.m. and I walked into the airport by past 5, thinking that I was early. I would check in time, on time, and I will have all of the time in the world to, relax and lounge. And then I got to the airport, and first of all, there was no check-in stand because the plane, the EasyJet was the people I flew with. They were not flying anytime soon, so there was no check-in point. So I was confused, and I went to meet somebody. After I was on the queue for a while, I eventually went to meet somebody, and they were like, "There's no flights till 9:10." I'm like, "No, my flight is by 7 p.m." And they're like, "Okay, give us your reference number." And they check and like, "Your flight is for 7 a.m., not 7 p.m." I'm like, "That's not possible." I was like, "That's not possible." And then I brought out my phone and I just saw 70700 to 0840. Why did I think that my flight was for 7 p.m.? Why? I don't know. Funny thing is, Nambo tried to warn me, but I was so sure it was 7 p.m. that I didn't even bother. Even though I didn't understand what he was saying, but I mean, in foresight, now I know that was what he was saying because he actually told me that was what he was saying, blah, blah, blah. And then the lady told me that, okay, that I should call them, that maybe they can help. I called and they were like, "That's a no-show. There's nothing they can do. I would have to book another flight." Considering the fact that I'm broke. I am broke. Anyways, I had to book another flight. But before then, I didn't even know what to do. So I called my brother and he was just like, I should come back home. That we'll book another flight for the next day. So he was already like checking for flights and everything. So I hopped on the bus, paid £4 to go back home. Then on the way, I was checking EasyJet's website and I just saw like, okay, so the flight for the 9th was for 9:10. I could hop on that, considering I need to rest. I have deadlines to meet. I have a lot of work to do. I need to cook. Okay. So I'm like, I called my brother, "What do you think?" He said, "Okay, let's do that." So I came down from the bus halfway into the journey, and then the next bus refused to come. Guys, Scotland's transport system has to be the worst. The worst. I was in the rain. There was no shade. So I was literally standing with my box in the rain and it was freezing. It was freezing. It was like 5 degrees and the rain was pouring on me. And it wasn't like London's rain. London rain, you can stay in London's rain and you won't feel anything. You won't feel much. Don't let me say anything. But most times when it's raining in London, it just drizzles for a while and stop. It was raining. And I couldn't leave where I was because I didn't know when the bus was going to come. I stood there for almost 20 minutes, if not more, before the next bus came. Anyways, the next bus came. At this point, my whole body was shaking. Like, my whole body, the muscles in my body were shaking. I entered the bus, paid another £4 to go back to the airport. On my way to the airport, I was going to pay for the next flight by 9:10, and then I realized that it was no longer available. The flight was off, no longer available. I couldn't pay anymore. I just realized that my payment was failing, and when I refreshed, the flight was no longer available. Problem. I came down from that bus. When I told my brother, I was just like, see, just come back home. Like, just come back. I came down from that bus and then I crossed to the other side so that I can catch the bus going back home. And then I realized that, okay, so at that point it was already like 7 or so. So I figured that, okay, maybe because they are now checking in and that's why they wrote, that's why it was no longer available. So thank God I took their number when I was at the hotel. When I was at the airport. So I called them. The first person I called, it was an Indian guy that picked, and we were not really vibing. And then it was noisy, so because I was by the roadside, it was very noisy. Okay, so I went away from the roadside. The call cut at the point. I was trying to wear my AirPods. The call cut. So I called them back. This time it was a lady, an English lady that picked. So I tried to explain myself. She wasn't getting me at the point, but eventually she did. And then she was like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, the flight leaving this night, are there still seats available? She said, she checked. She said, yes, we have 9 seats available. Wonderful. Can I pay for that? She said, yes. I can either get to the airport and pay for it, or she can process the payment on her hand. I'm like, please process the payment on your hand before I get to the airport and I start hearing stories that touch, At this point, I was like monitoring the roads to make sure that another airport bus wasn't passing. So I gave her my details and everything, and then she was like, that would be £90. I'm like, what? The flight I checked that I was going to pay for was £77. It wasn't even £90, she said 90 something pounds. I'm like, what's that? I thought it was 77. I was going to pay 77. Oh my god, blah blah blah. Eventually she said, can you pay the £77? I said, yes, I can. She's like, okay, I'm going to make an exception for you. I'm like, thank you. And then she transferred me to where I would put my card details. Meanwhile, I wasn't going to take my card on this trip, but thank heavens I inputted my card details. I got debited, and she sent me a confirmation mail. By the time she sent me a confirmation mail, I was already on the other side. Another 727 bus, that's the airport bus, was already here. So I entered, and this is me trying to explain that I had already paid for this trip. This from my house to the airport, I already paid for this trip, so I'm not about to pay again. I was trying to explain myself to the bus driver. We were going back and forth, back and forth. It got to a point the bus driver was like, see, just go inside. He was like, just go inside, because I was really delaying him and every other person in the bus. He was just like, just go inside. So I went in. I got to the hotel. Why do I keep saying hotel? I got to the airport, and meanwhile, I should say that the first time I was going to the airport, where I couldn't take the bus to the airport, so I literally paid like £20 to get to the airport through taxi. I got to the airport. I checked in. Oh, I should say that when she sends me the confirmation mail, I tried to check in online, but it was saying error. It was saying the reference is not valid and blah blah. So I'm like, did I just send £77 to a scam? I'm like, that's not possible. I called them at the airport, right? They checked my reference. They checked that the flight had gone, blah blah. I was just calculating in my head. I did not tell anybody, so because there was just a lot of panic at this point. Like, what is going on? I got to the airport. They asked for my ID. I showed them, and lucky for me, they just printed my boarding pass. So at least I calmed down then. So I checked in, and the lady that checked in for me saw the way that my body was shaking and was like, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm cold." So she said I should go and put my hands under hot water or warm water in the bathroom. I did that and it helped a bit. When I was checking myself in also, they said the same thing. "Are you okay?" I said, "It's cold." They said, "Okay, alright." My body was shaking, guys. The entire muscle in my body was like shaking. It was as if I was having spasms. Anyways, when it was finally time to board the plane, I stood up, gave them my boarding pass, and then they said I should check my box in the cabin bag sizer. My box did not enter the cabin bag, so they said I was going to pay. At first I heard £13.99. That's £14. I'm like, Jesus Christ. My hair name is today. My hair name is anyways. I called my brother, and my brother was just like, let's just get you home at this point. It's like, let's just get you home. And I'm so broke, so I had to be calling my brother for everything. I've been working here for like how many weeks? I haven't gotten paid. I'm getting paid at the end of April, so I'm broke. Anyways, my brother sent me like £20 that just go in. Let's just get you home, right? I stood up. I was about to go and pay the £14, and then the lady was talking to somebody else that the person had to pay £39.99. And I'm like, did you just say £39.99? She's like, yes. I'm like, what? How much is my flight ticket? £77. Why would I pay £40 for a box? EasyJet, tell me. Why would I do that? And I'm like, I don't think it's that expensive on their app. So I tried to log into the app to even see, but it was already closed. You couldn't do anything again. I'm like, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. I had to call my brother again that it's £40. They said, no, it's not 40, it's 40. It's just like, let's just get you home. Send me another £36. That whatever you need, just, just get home. But I'm like, this £40, I'm not going to pay it. So I went to sit down back, and I waited for everybody to board, to leave. And then at a point, I now stood up and was like, please, do you know where I can get a small, because actually I was like, how much is my box? I will leave it. I will leave the box. How much is it? I'm like, that they should just tell me where I can get a small bag or everything. They said everywhere is closed, so I can't get a bag. I say, okay, what about airport trash bags? That, because there was literally nothing inside my box. Can I get airport trash bag to put? I was just telling them, I literally just paid for this flight tonight. Like, I just paid for this flight tonight. I missed my flight in the morning. Eventually, when they saw that, because the plane was about to take off, they had to call them in the plane that there's still somebody, that they should wait. All the doors were closed. They had to start opening doors again, because one of the lady there was like telling me, you need to make a decision now. Are you boarding or not? Are you flying or not? I'm like, I obviously want to fly, but I don't have the money to pay for this. I do not want. Eventually they let me in, and they were just telling me that we don't do this, we could lose our jobs for this, blah blah. I'm like, thank you, because I don't have the money. I do not. I boarded the plane. People were even laughing at me because the way I was, because I was running. So the way my seat was 28A. So the way I was wheeling my box down the aisle of the plane, it was so funny. I eventually sat down, and guys, let me just tell you that yesterday I did not know that I could cry that much. The amount of tears that left my eyes yesterday, I never knew I was capable of crying that much. I swear I did not cry this much for my MB exam, and that's like the last time I knew that I cried so much. I did not cry this. At every point, tears were just dropping. I said, like I was just crying. Immediately I entered the plane and I sat down. I quickly buckled my belt because the plane was already moving. I quickly buckled my belt, and another stream of water from this beautiful heights started again. I cried yesterday. I don't even know how many times. I lost count. I got to Luton again because my destination is London. I got to Luton. I had to pay £17.30 to get to London. And then I got to London. I almost missed my plane, my train from Luton to London. I got to London, and before I got a bus to get to my place, that was another God, please, another speaking in tongues, another scabashing, guys. Now, nobody will tell me to triple check, to check 20 times my flight time if I'm flying again. Nobody will tell me before I do it again, because what? That's the story of my life. Yeah. Guys, don't miss your flights. Don't do it. Don't do it.